SARDA Ag Research, or Smoky Applied Research and Demonstration Association as it was called, started in 1986. It was a group of local producers in the Smoky River region that decided that they wanted to have local research done, and demonstrations, I should say. It was a one-man show for a number of years, and gradually over the years it expanded. There's a number of different research projects that we do each year, and the number of plots that we do each year has increased quite substantially over that time.
SARDA has a very long history of doing research on diverse crops, cereals, oilseeds, and pulses, legume, as well as the forage species. So at SARDA, we are looking at the crop diversification. For example, like intercropping with cereals and oilseed with pulse crop, and introducing the forage legumes with cereals and the oilseed crops.
SARDA's mission is to facilitate the transfer of unbiased information between researchers, industry, and producers. So the Living Labs is very much in line with this mission, as we will be looking at new practices with producers and explaining them to scientists. So we're going to take the other viewpoint, switch things around, and show what the producers are doing, and hopefully the scientists will be able to help the producers accomplish more than what they already are.
My name is Blair Fortin. I farm just east of St. Isidore, a small scale farm. We do about 330 acres of cash crop, grains, pulses, that kind of stuff. I'm really excited to get back into farming and see what we can do for the soil and the land. When you're farming and there's stuff to do to pick up the crop and stuff, the last thing you want to do is worry about testing and that kind of stuff. So looking forward to that, the support in that area for sure, and see with all the practices we're going to implement with regenerative to see how well it's transitioning the soil into a healthier place. So.
We kind of focused on few factors, such as to sequester more carbon. For that, we are looking at, to maintain living plants everywhere possible. We are hoping to minimize soil disturbances. With that, we can minimize soil erosion and, maintain soil microbiome as well.
Where I'd really like to see is the actual microbiome. So how much do a population count on the bacteria, beneficial bacteria, your nematodes, protozoa, archaea, all these fungi, the mycorrhizals. See what you have when you started versus 5-10 years down the road. Where are you at now? What's your population looking like? Because that's your underground livestock. That's what's really turning over your nutrients, and there's a lot of potential in that microbiome for even free living bacteria that are nitrogen fixers. So what's your population now versus what it's going to be, and what kind of best management practices affected that the most?
I think the most important thing what I envision of the impact of the Precision Living Lab at the end will be to reduce the dependency of the farmer to the synthetic fertilizer, which if we can achieve by some percentage, it will be of great helpful for the environment, as well as reducing the cost of cultivation to the farmer and to benefit for the soil health.
SARDA has always had an interest in new practices and new crops, and looking at these new procedures to see how things work. This is exciting for SARDA because we actually get to put some science behind some of the BMPs that we're told works. We know that the Peace region tends to be a little different than some of the other areas in the province, and we need to look at those locally, those practices, and see how they affect production and sustainability in the Peace region.
Well, we're trying to implement just about all the regenerative pillars, I guess you could call them. So the big one we're focusing on, myself and Julian, is the vermicompost or fungal dominant static pile compost, and both doing in-furrow injection when you're seeding to put the biology, inoculate the soil with all the beneficial microbes, and as well as foliar application of those composts, making teas and doing foliar applications along with other micronutrients and biostimulants. And then lots of diversity, lots of intercropping, crop rotation is a big one for us. Reducing synthetic inputs, fertilizer, that's another one. Try to really focus on growing pulses and other legumes that'll fix nitrogen so we can be less dependent on synthetics, and reducing our spraying as well that really affect the soil health and the microbiome. So. And then the last thing we want to do is incorporate animals back into the land, which is probably going to be the most challenging for us. We're going to have to rely a lot on partnerships with other ranchers in the area and try to get the cattle here and see what they can do for the soil too. I think the best thing that we could do with a partnership with SARDA, Living Labs, all these organizations is information, like I said, information sharing. Figure out what works here and how to incorporate that in a larger scale to get this out to producers, because that's going to be the biggest challenges. Yes, we know these practices help the soil, but how do we make that, how do we scale that up to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 acre farm? That's the biggest challenge. So I think that's where you need those partnerships with SARDA and Living Labs to really be the kind of the liaison between the small guys like me that are trying this stuff and to get that message out there and to see how it can scale up.
So I hope this Peace Region Living Lab will help to achieve that goal to get further profitability, sustainability, and the resiliency in cropping systems.
The manager's message is that he's excited because we're going to increase the tools in the toolbox for producers to use to maintain a sustainable, viable operation in the Peace Region.